Ohio is the heartland. It's a place where the mountains end and the prairies begin. Its borders are formed by Lake Erie on the north and the Ohio River on the south and the east. But the state can't be defined by its geography. Ohio is the smell of coffee brewing in the morning, the sound of church bells, the taste of a hot fudge sundae at the corner drugstore. It's a feeling. Ohio cities have small town values where the families who built them are honored. In Dayton, there's the name Huffman. Tony Huffman was born and raised here.
My ancestors settled in Dayton in 1812, and we've had a continuing association with the city ever since. Here's an article out of the newspaper saying...
Tony Huffman's family is one of the oldest and most respected in town.
It's really kind of fun to go through this stuff sometimes. Here was Torrance Huffman's father's house up in the east part of Dayton in an area called Huffman Hill. And he built a house out there because he owned the city railway. He wanted to get traffic out in this section of town so he could make more money in the trolley business.
The rest of the family changed Dayton, too, with another kind of transportation. Tony Huffman is an executive with one of the city's biggest companies, Huffy Bikes.
It was started by my great-grandfather in the 1880s, at which time they were a manufacturer of sewing machines and, as a minor side product, bicycles.
Today, Huffy is the largest bicycle manufacturer in America. It's become a leader in turning out specially crafted models for experts like the U.S. Olympic cycling team. The first American to ever win Europe's grueling Tour de France rode a Huffy. It's not the only time the Huffmans helped to make history. The other time happened by chance on a piece of land they once owned. It may not look like much, but it led to dreams that reached into the heavens, because Huffman Prairie was important to a couple of other bicycle makers from Dayton, Wilbur and Orville Wright.
When they came home from Kitty Hawk, they approached Torrance Huffman, who had a big field east of Dayton, and asked him if they could fly in his area. He said, as long as you take care of don't bother the cows, you can have it free of charge.
Ivonette Miller is the Wright brothers' niece, but she was more like a daughter to them.
Orville was the one that was bubbling over with ideas. Wilbur was the one that tried to make them practical. They were a wonderful team, and they used to scrap a lot. Wilbur said one time he liked to scrap with Orv. He was such a good scrapper. They, you might say, invented the airplane by arguing.
When Ivonette was little, Uncle Will and Uncle Orv used to babysit the kids in the cycle shop. We
just scooted up the alley anytime we wanted to go to the bike shop. There were belts running and the machinery going, and they never stopped doing anything, but they'd talk to us and explain what they were doing if we asked.
Their influence was strong throughout her life. Ivonette's husband, Harold, first laid eyes on her at a celebration for the Wright brothers.
But down on the stage, there was the Wright brothers and the Wright family was there, and among the Wright family, there were two nice-looking young ladies who were about my age. One of them happened to be, later became my wife.
They were married in this house. It was built by Orville after the Wright brothers had become international heroes. Ivonette and Harold Miller are both 90, married for 67 years. Years filled with memories. The staircase Ivonette walked down as a bride. Orville's favorite chair by the library window. The balcony where Lindbergh greeted the crowds after his historic flight aboard the Spirit of St. Louis. The picture of the first flight at Kitty Hawk. But Ivonette clings to one memory that is special to her. She recalls it today as she did 75 years ago.
I climbed into the passenger seat when the propellers and the engine were still going, and we took off. As I looked out over the wings that were carrying us up and the ground that was falling away, here we were in midair with the wind blowing in our faces. It was just amazing. We flew around over the treetops and the telephone poles, and Uncle Orv was pointing to the trolley that was coming from Springfield. He said, "Shall we take it?" I nodded. And with that, he turned into the wind and turned off the engine and the propellers and glided to a perfect landing in time to catch the trolley. And that was my first flight in 1911. I was 15 years old, and I haven't been the same since.
Neither has Dayton, neither has the world, and neither has that little patch of land. Today, Huffman Prairie is part of Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, the area where test pilots make their training runs. Inside Wright-Patterson, they are harnessing the future. This research center is so much a part of the Wright brothers' legacy that it's nicknamed the Bicycle Shop. And so what happened on the second floor of that old Dayton store really did create dreams that led to the heavens. 65 years later, a young man from nearby Wapakoneta, Ohio, was the first man to step on the moon. Astronaut Neil Armstrong.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.